Welcome, everyone, to Watch Challenge. On each episode, we challenge ourselves to find and watch a film of a particular type and then report back the results to each other and you fine listeners. My name is Aaron Spears.
And I'm Mike Went. And this episode's challenge is concert films. And this one was kind of a tough one to kind of narrow down because there are so many.
Yeah.
And feel like I've almost seen that many. But at the same time, I feel like almost everybody has a concert doc or something, now. So it's
Yeah. Oh, you mean like as artists, like everybody's got one?
yeah. And
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
I mean, there are certain genres of music that are not, my cup of tea, but I mean, but everybody seems to be having some now.
It's funny you mentioned that right off the bat because a late entry that I wrote in my film notebook when I was looking up titles here was like, I think the trend in let's picture movie theaters pre-COVID. You've got this definite trend because everyone was like, how do we get butts in seats with all the streaming options, blah, blah, blah. And one of those things were these like one-off special event, like Fathom concerts. And it wasn't just
Yeah.
Fathom events, but there was a lot of them. Katy Perry to Justin Bieber, like totally spacing the biggest pop group in the world right now. BTS.
Yes, BTS.
Yes, has got a few of those too. And we would program even at the art house I was at Cedar Lee, we would do like special event stuff like that, and you'd be like, holy crap, all of a sudden you're invaded by 300 teenagers all out for BTS. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I think that probably helped a lot of folks like gain musicians gain a wider audience.
Yeah, during COVID I've been on somehow through LinkedIn. I got on this group that has these calls, and it's about how to get people in the movie theaters. And I explained to them at one point, it's like, I don't really work for a movie theater, but I'm happy to listen to your calls. But because actually, I find them fascinating. I mean, some people might find it a little dry and boring, but there was this a theater owner out of I think out of Massachusetts who was like hyping up the BTS concerts that recently played because he was just like, this is going to be what helps bring us back, baby. Yeah. Like that's what he got. And from what it sounds like, those were hugely successful across the country. It sounds like.
Oh, you mean like even during like COVID?
Yeah, like I think they had it like maybe like 2 months ago or something. Okay. But it was yeah, it sounds like it was really
well, it's one of those like, because I mean, I think you're qualified because you're at the movie theater like 5 nights a week, Mike. So, and former theater employee and everything too. But like, yeah, even in like the downtimes, like let's say it's a normal calendar year of releases pre-COVID or post whatever. There's those slow times when like, and if you can supplement that with like, oh, I got a BTS concert, this week in April before the summer movies hit, hey, all right, April's going to be okay now for, revenue and concession and everything. So
yeah, absolutely.
Silver bullet like solution, but it's definitely one of those supplemental things that like, this will get butts in seats. Let's do this.
Oh, for sure. And I think it's one of those for a lot of different filmmakers or studios, it's like a low risk, high reward kind of thing. Like there doesn't probably cost a lot to produce a film version of a concert and everything.
Well, because presumably the concert's already going to happen anyway, so let's just set up some cameras and capture it.
Exactly. And then if you find the right avenue for it, like, I mean, obviously when we were growing up, it was, MTV would play it, but now the fact that so many of them also would go theatrical, it's just a way to like, it's like almost like a big plug for the band. But then also if you happen to have like a good director attached to it, like, so many of the great concert docs always had some kind of like big name attached. It's like a win-win for fans and audiences alike.
Yeah, I mean, like Spike Lee, like we talked about in the last episode, of American Utopia, but also he's done like Passing Strange and some other ones. Scorsese's in there. Jonathan Demme's done a couple. Yeah, there's some quality talent behind the camera there as well. I wanted to ask too, looking at some of these, I was looking back at like concert films that had been put out kind of pre-Fathom, pre that big event in the theater like we were
Sure.
talking about. And I had the strongest recollection of going to music stores back in the day when there were, well, I mean, there's still some music stores now, but I remember going to like some local music stores, and there were two in particular. I'm not going to name names just because I don't know how legal some of this was, but there were like bootleg VHSs
Really?
or of concerts. And I remember getting one because I never got to see Rage Against the Machine when they were a band originally. I have tickets to see them next summer, but I didn't get to see them at the heyday when they were like the age I wanted to see them play at. Like I've been
Sure.
to Who as an older, on a concert tour like maybe 10 years ago. I want to see the Who in like 1971. That's not happening. But yeah, I bought a tape that like it had like cover art and everything too. Like it was one of those snap kind of not full clamshell, but like those plastic cases VHS. And then I pop it in, and like it's clearly just somebody with a camcorder. Like fine, I still got to see it. The problem is like the audio, sucks. It was camcorder audio.
What did they charge for something like that?
I think I paid him like $20 or whatever it was. But I was
Okay.
like, but then when you like looking at it, I was like, yeah, there's actually no barcode on this. There's no, like, they just printed off like the Rage, image artwork, and I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I got what I was looking for. It's technically a recording of a concert. Did you ever run across those like in the bootleg world at all, or?
Not really. I mean, I'm a pretty big music person, but it's one of those things where they were almost, there's so many elements that go into a film, and there's so many great like composers, but sometimes like the rock world, or for me, and the movie world were like two different things. And like when they were merged together, it was cool.
Yeah.
But in my head, for some reason, say if like am I going to the Cinematheque on Friday, or am I going to the Grog Shop?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
Never
like
the two shall meet.
yes, exactly.
Well, that said too, then, so if we're going into concert films, before we do some honorable mention titles, what are the characteristics you're looking for in a good concert film?
Well, I think a lot of times when the film isn't just a straight up concert, like when you get little vignettes, or when you get behind the scenes footage, or just sometimes you have interviews interstitially with the music. I think sometimes that's what I'm drawn to, because it almost is like it allows them to tell a story. Sometimes, but there are certain concert films where if it's just them playing the hits and
Right.
that's all you want to see, okay, great. But I do like when the filmmakers try to throw different elements to kind of get you like who this band is.
No, I think you're right, because that was one of the things I was thinking about when this is the most I've given concert films like an analytical thought. I think I like the band, they have a concert film, I'll give it a shot at some point. But I was thinking, well, what if you don't know the band, or what if you aren't a fan of that genre of music?
Right.
Like I even started poking around to see like, is there a director I like that did, because I don't really care for country music. I also don't know country music, so no hate here.
Sure.
But it's just not one of my genres. And so I was like, well, let me see if there's a director I like that did a country concert film. I'll check that one out, which I did end up finding one. But it could be so insular. Like you're only going for an audience who already likes this band. Like how else, unless you're a fan of concert films as a genre, you're not just trying out all kinds of different bands you never heard of.
Yeah.
Concert film. Although actually that's probably a good way to sample, like, are they a good band or
right.
not, to be honest. But I never think about watching them that way.
I know like when HD TVs were first coming out, that was like when you would go into the store, like Best Buy or something like that. They would always showcase some kind of like concert doc, like to show like this is the resolution that you want,
Well, resolution, and it shows off the audio possibilities too.
Yes.
Audio setup. And
yes.
My first thought for some reason was Yanni live at the Acropolis, because that was whatever like Media Play or Best Buy I was going into.
Classic.
Like, he's on again over there. But no, you're right. I totally forgot about that. It shows off, the TV and the audio and everything.
Yeah.
But you do include like the backstage stuff, or like the artist talking about, oh, this is why I wrote song X, and then you hear or see them perform song X. That's a good avenue to get someone who isn't familiar with that band into the music, if they are actually watching that concert film.
Yeah. Like I for one example, in this when I was growing up, like I was a very big like alternative music person, Pearl Jam, all that
Oh
stuff,
yeah.
and we had, I've probably said this on the podcast so many times, but we had HBO growing up, but they, I think it was the late '90s. They showed it was a Garth Brooks concert. It was like live in Central Park or something like that,
Oh
and
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
in Garth Brooks, not really my cup of tea, but there were certain things that they did with that,
yeah.
like these sweeping camera movements and like a lot of different like stuff behind the stage and
Mhm.
and just I mean, even though he's not that's not like my cup of tea, but
Right.
I grew an appreciation just because it showed like I think how much of like a showman he was and
Oh yeah,
I mean and is, and just how he really like went for it,
right.
but yeah, stuff like that. I mean, I think it's when it can kind of expose you to something that is not really your thing, you
Yeah,
know, that's the measure of a good concert
right.
doc.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, good performance, but also good, well captured as well. Because like, yeah, if
Yeah.
you weren't watching the bootleg of
Right. Right.
Mark, you were watching the full production. So,
Right.
I think also a couple of the things I was looking for like that. I really like getting that visceral "you are there"
Yeah.
kind of aesthetic to it, which could just be like you're saying with the Garth Brooks example, just like the raw power of like a performer that can just command not just the audience, but also, I mean, if you command the audience, you can command the camera, and the audience that's watching you as well.
For
Um,
sure.
but also, and I think this is my lingering effects of the couple of bootlegs that I had. Good audio. You need to have
Yes.
good audio quality out there. You're there for the music first and foremost, so you have to have good audio. But yeah. So, well, what have you got, Mike? Any honorable mentions before we do our picks for this genre?
Oh man, there some of the ones that like I really liked
Mhm.
from the past. I would say like and I don't know if this technically counts as a concert doc, but say Anvil, the story of Anvil, I thought is a really fun documentary. It came out in the late 2000s,
Yes.
or the late aughts,
Awesome.
but it was. I didn't know much about this band, but like I saw the trailer.
Hmm.
It played a bunch at Cedar Lee, and went to see it. And I actually like really got caught up into it. I think I ended up crying a little bit,
No, there's
just
some emotional stuff in that one.
yeah, just because how they're just this band that's like well respected, but just didn't make a lot of money or anything.
Yeah.
I also, once again, my '90s thing, but Pearl Jam 20 by
Oh,
Cameron Crowe, I think is a really, I mean, but I don't know. I know I'm, they're not necessarily just the straight up concert docs, but it's like you get a lot of the insights into how they made their music and them
yeah.
growing up in the scene.
Well, that one
But
too, because I was in the Nirvana camp. I was like fine with Pearl Jam,
sure,
but I
sure.
wasn't super into Pearl Jam. Nirvana was more my jam. But I remember watching Pearl Jam 20 in the theater. Actually, it played when I was working at Cedar. With there were so many fans out. We had it on like two screens when we showed it there,
Yeah,
and it was what you were saying. It's little vignettes of like them as musicians, how they were creating songs, how the band dynamic plays out. Amazingly shot concert footage. Again, like you said, a major
yes.
director doing a concert film. But also, if I remember correctly, it was also kind of a career retrospective too.
It was. It was. I mean, it got. Once I don't know. Like I'm gonna sound like a sap, but like I I just like I think I was there at one of those sold out
Yeah.
screenings for that, and was really into it. I think the last one I would also suggest is Rattle and Hum. The U
Oh yeah.
two. Sometimes I know in recent years like Bono just sometimes like can be a little bit like groan inducing because
A
of like
little much.
he gets very political, but that is them at their peak,
Yeah.
and it's just the way how it's captured in a lot of times in black and white, and just the raw energy of hearing them live because
Yeah.
I have got to see them live. I mean, and they put on an amazing show,
Oh
and I
yeah.
think it's like the next thing from like being there live.
Well, and also I mean, that one is like almost at cult status because I think we played that as like our cult film programming a couple times, and it would always get out a crowd. And we're like, well, I mean, you got to play it though. I mean, it gets
Yeah. Yeah.
It also is a great antidote to what I was complaining earlier. Like I got to see the Who when they were like at a retirement age,
Sure.
playing their hits, which was great. I mean, the hits are still belted out, but I want to see them when they were crazy youngsters doing that music.
Yes.
I can because there are concert films that they made that capture them, and U2 is the same way, especially with Rattle and Hum. They've actually done a bunch of concert films over the years too.
Yeah.
Who has, but that one, like it's captures, you know, that tour at that time, and like you said, kind of peak U2, arguably peak U2. So,
any honorable mentions for you?
Yeah, I mean, I got to give a shout out to Justin Bieber. Never say never. No, just joking. That was just one of those when that popped up when I was doing research. I was like, fuck, I remember that came out. That was huge. It was top of the box office. They put it out a few more times, but you know, exclusively in theaters. No, so one shout out I wanted to do real quick is Wim Wenders, again, major director doing a concert film, Buena Vista Social Club, 1999. And that one got me in a weird way because it wasn't music I was into. I wasn't following, was it Ray Cotter, and I didn't know Cuban music in any form when that came out. But like on the local NPR station, they had interviewed him and they were playing some music. And I was like, that's a pretty chill music. So I got the CD from the library. I think it was in Columbus at the time. Columbus, Ohio. And then that was just my go-to, just like background music when I was cooking, I was studying. I just had that on. Like my roommates at several points were just like, "Can we play something else?"
Yeah.
But then it took me like 5 years to finally actually watch the documentary. And by the time I watched it, then I knew all that music backwards and forwards. So I was just like, "Oh shit, that song. Oh no, that's that song."
Yeah.
And so that's the same thing too, where it's like putting the band together and then performing. So you get all of like the backstage and kind of like the tour through, you know, the history to a certain extent of music. And then they come to New York. There's a big concert there. So it's a really, really great concert film that hits all of the boxes we've already talked about.
Yeah.
And then
that's a great one.
The other one goes in. So like my music tastes too run more like either punk or hip hop, and then also a heavy dose of classic rock.
Sure.
D.A. Pennebaker, D.A. Pennebaker is a major documentarian, so it's a little
different. Oh,
yeah. But his Monterey Pop documentary from 68, I want to say.
Oh, yes.
Holy shit.
That is so good.
It is just like one after another. You've got like everything from Otis Redding to Mom and the Papas to Ravi Shakur. I can't remember what that instrument is, but like he is going to town on that one. And of course, it's the famous Jimi Hendrix fucking lighting his guitar on fire.
Yes.
It's so good. It's so good.
Now, I was fortunate to get to see that. I think the Cleveland Cinematheque played it a couple years ago. Just see it like with like the great sound system that they have there. I think my wife and I were definitely felt like we got our money's worth that night.
I think some of those type of concert films too, like festival or event concerts like that, like Festival Express is that way. Obviously, the elephant in the room we haven't mentioned yet, but we did on the last episode would be Woodstock.
Yes.
Obviously. If you're bored, I don't know how you'd be bored with any performance in Monterey Pop or Woodstock or Festival Express, but if there's a band you don't care for, just wait 5 minutes. It's like a film program, like the next one you may, and some of those have a wider variety of music they've programmed too. So if you're not a big fan of like Sha Na Na and Woodstock, I don't know, the most energetic performance I've ever seen.
Right.
Wait a minute, and then next thing you know, Richie Havens is out just fucking killing it. So it gives you a good kind of sampling, I think there. But yeah, those are the two. I mean, this is another. Obviously, we could revisit concert films in the life of the podcast.
Oh my god, yeah.
What is your actual one you picked for this watch challenge?
So I did go with one of those kind of hybrid concerts, but also you get a lot of like kind of insight. And this one, I kind of like went down a YouTube rabbit hole one day and stumbled across Noel Gallagher and Liam Gallagher from Oasis, like talking basically shit about each other. And so I Googled, I was like, are there any films about Oasis? And I found Liam Gallagher, As It Was. It came out in 2019. It's directed by Gavin Fitzgerald and Charlie Lightning.
We just had a vibe, and everyone joined in on it.
Some people say you've got an arrogant attitude.
That's what makes Oasis, isn't it?
It was pretty vicious and pretty nasty.
was Oasis till the day I die. The geezer split me band up. No wonder we hate each other. No band, no songs. What am I going to do now, man? He was lost.
And fed up with himself.
Who knows who I am anymore? They've got all them press headlines waiting. He's definitely going to blow his brains out. But I don't think it's going to happen, lads. He had to get off his arse. The only way out of this mess is music.
We were in Ireland.
Then someone gets the guitar out, and before you know it,
He went around the world.
a little bit nervous. This is my last chance to do the thing that I love.
He was a bit apprehensive of how it was going to go.
Gotta just ride the wave a little bit and see where it takes you.
Kids don't want to be Noel, they want to be Liam.
He'd have quite happily seen me in the gutter. I've always thought I was godlike, from the day I was born. Carry on this crusade of not giving up, man. Well, #1 record. Hallelujah. Manchester, I love you.
His kids were there, he wanted to do them proud.
Family is everything to him. I'm proud of him. He never changed because he is who he is.
As I got older, I try not to drink as much. I only do 2 grams before I go on stage now, whereas I used to do 8. When I'm singing songs close up to that mic, nothing could touch it.
He came, he saw, he conquered.
It's biblical, man.
I found it on Tubi.
Okay.
And it is a look at basically it basically starts when you find out that Oasis is breaking up, and then it follows Liam Gallagher's struggle to get back to making music again.
Okay.
Because and the one thing is, like, you never really get the definitive like I think everybody's always, in Oasis, I think was a very talented band. I'm not like deep in their discography, but I do know, like, their one album that had Wonderwall and everything. I mean, I listened to that a lot, and I think there's always that thing where you want them together in the same shot to, like, talk to each other.
Right.
But this makes it very clear at the beginning that they don't really talk to each other, but it is a very interesting look at how when Noel quit the band and kind of broken it up, Liam and the rest of the band members started a new band.
Oh, okay.
And they had 2 albums and then they disbanded. So after the second band disbanded, like, he was kind of he went in this downward spiral of, alcohol, drugs, and depression for sure. And it shows that him, coming to terms with that and then making music. So you have all these elements, but then you also have some fantastic concert footage, interstitial within the film. So if you're not a fan of Oasis, I think there's still a very interesting dynamic, because you have the big elephant in the room is that the fact that these 2 brothers, like, hate each other, and the family's, like, always hoping that they're gonna reconcile. And I think it sounds like, towards the end of the film, it alludes to, like, that, at least on Liam's side, that he's tried to reconcile or just tried to approach his brother.
Okay.
But it just sounds like that might be something that, may not happen for many years down the road.
Yeah.
But definitely I would say worth it. And Tubi is kind of slowly becoming one of my go-to like streaming things. I mean, there's a lot of unique things on there, and it's free. And I mean, you have a couple ads throughout the course of the film, but it definitely I don't know. I like how honest and raw that this was. And also, if for any listeners who are, if you don't like hearing the word fuck, you may not like this film, because it's just dropped like just every 5 minutes,
but
or not every 30 seconds. But
so this one, sorry if I heard you, I wasn't sure if I heard you right on this one. So it's a documentary. It's him with a second band he had after Oasis, or this is him like solo trying to?
Well, yeah. So he had there was the members of Oasis formed another band, and for the life of me, I can't remember what it was called, but it's something with a B.
Okay.
Like Barry something. And then he went solo. So
Okay, so this is him solo doing this one.
correct.
Gotcha.
So, and it shows like some of the first concert footage when he first got back, it was not as smooth, than he was used to, or it was much smaller venue, much smaller turnout,
Okay.
because like people want to hear the Oasis songs.
Right.
And, it's probably the farthest, he would rather play, covers of somebody else's stuff than even Oasis.
That one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it BDI?
Yes.
Okay.
BDI. Yep.
I was looking at his filmography real quick here.
Yes. I did get to see Noel Gallagher a few years ago. They opened for Smashing Pumpkins when they played here. So, he's obviously moved on, but he did play like half of the songs were his, and then the rest were Oasis songs. And he always stresses it. And even in this doc, they have a scene where it's like the ones that I wrote.
Oh man, the feud
Yeah.
continues, obviously.
Yeah. So yeah, I do recommend it. I think it was, it was like under 90 minutes. That's always welcome these days. Yes. So what did you end up picking?
So I went with one I hadn't seen since it came out, and it's not streaming. So I did. I bought it's a double disc set because it was enough. I'm like, there's a bunch of shit on here I'm gonna want to watch. I can just tell. I went with. It's got two different titles. One does have an F-bomb in it. So yeah, like I said, if people don't like the F-bombs in that one, they're not gonna like the title of this one. But it's called Awesome. I fucking shot that.
Oh yes.
And at the end.
In a world where Dominion is king, at a time of upheaval and change, when pure evil reigns over the realm of humans, and truth and justice are just a dream, only the strongest can rise to the challenge. Only the pure of heart can seize the moment and forge dreams into realities. Think Film and Oscilloscope Laboratories present The Beastie Boys in a Nathaniel Hornblower film. Awesome. I fucking shot that. In theaters, March 2006.
Alternatively, if you type it in IMDb, you just want to say "Awesome, I shot that." And
yeah,
that'll get you to it. But it's from 2006, and it's one of the most unique concert documentaries or concert films I've ever seen. And it is of the Beastie Boys at their 2000. I want to say it's 2004 Madison Square Garden show. So kind of hometown for them.
Sure,
New York City. But the premise here I found to be fascinating, and this is definitely going to date the technology for sure. The premise of this is and I don't know how they did the recruitment part because I didn't watch the behind the scenes documentary of this concert documentary yet. They gathered together 50 fans that were coming to see the concert, and they gave them all high 8. This is where it's dated. High 8 camcorders. And the opening bits of the movie is they're getting all these 50 people are getting debriefed ahead of time, and they're getting handed their camcorders, and they're like, we don't care what you film. We don't care where you go during the concert. We don't, don't go and like hurt someone, obviously, but like, we don't care where you go. We don't care where you're sitting. We don't care what you zoom in on. We don't care what you film. Just when the concert starts, you hit record and you do not stop recording, just straight recording. And you get exactly what you're picturing with 50 random people shooting this concert. I should say, especially as a filmmaker, Mike, that I'm sure your anxiety is rising due to the editing then that would come with all of that footage. Most of it probably a mess, but there were additional crews filming like on the stage, like with the same equipment though. So all the equipment, all the footage matches. Like it all looks high concert footage, but it looks like the most. I was going to say professional. I don't know if that's the right word or not. It looks like one of the most elaborate home movies you'll ever get. But documenting isn't just like, your family on vacation. They're documenting the Beastie Boys at Madison Square Garden playing the hit in 2004. So, as I mentioned before, good audio was one of my notes. And that was my note for a reason, because this audio should have been shitty. High 8 cameras, a high 8 camcorder up in the rafters filming, like that should sound like shit. But it doesn't. They have good audio on this one. And it's really kind of fascinating. Yes, you get a lot of concert footage, obviously, from different areas. They're right
Sure.
around, I don't know if you call it the pit, if it's a hip hop show, but you're right down front. People just losing their shit when, like No Sleep Till Brooklyn starts or Paul Revere kicks in. People losing their mind. Oh my God, just freaking out on camera. And you get, that it gives you that visceral feel of like you're at the concert. Sometimes you're up in the rafters, sometimes you're mid-level, sometimes you're right down by the stage. But yeah, you also get like some dude going and taking a leak. You get somebody going and buying a beer. You get at one point, I think somebody's trying to talk themselves into getting backstage when they don't have a VIP lanyard.
Yeah.
Somebody was just interviewing people running vending machines. Oh, you like the Beastie Boys? Oh yeah, they're great. Whoever, yeah, those guys, they're great. I love rock and roll, or whatever. So there's some of that spliced in, but it's mostly just them doing the concert. And you do get some backstage stuff. So you get them doing the Beastie Boys and crew, I would say. I'm forgetting some of the guest artists that were there with them. They're, put your hands in the center. 1, 2, 3. Let's, they're doing their pre-show chant.
Yeah.
Walking through the alleys, or not the alleys. You see them walking through the hallways to get to the stage. You do see, so like they'll come out and they'll do these bursts of sets. And then the DJ will be there just, Mixmaster Mike is there. He's like doing a little DJ set. Oh, the Beastie Boys are gone. Well, then you see them backstage run into like catch an elevator to go to this part of the stage, to go to this here. And then all of a sudden, like it comes out of the floor, comes out over here, and they do quick costume changes. I don't know. Do you know Beastie Boys music too well, Mike? Was that?
Oh yeah. I mean, like, even though I'm more of like I consider them rock in a lot of ways, but I don't know. Like License to Ill was like something I
oh yeah,
listened to probably like 50. More than like 50 times.
Oh yeah. Well, so like they would always do, speaking to their rock sensibilities, they have a lot of instrumental rock songs on their album. Cerberus, I think, is one of the ones that was pretty popular, pretty well known. So when they do the instrumental ones, or just like they said, they have some songs that are just, that's a funk song. Like it is a straight up song, instrumental, and it's great. So when they do those, they're all wearing what look like kind of 70s tuxedos, like they're a wedding band. And so they're in like this cube in the front of the stage, and they're just like jamming out, and they do 3 or 4 instrumental songs all in a row. And then it's, backstage real quick, DJ's spinning some tunes, and they pop back out with, new outfits on, and then they break into some more hits. They get some audience interaction at some point. They're in the audience at a few points. So, I mean, it had to have been a mess to try to put together. And it's credited as Nathaniel Hornblower as the editor, or the director of it, but it's really Adam Yonch, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was his pseudonym for directing it. Editing it, the credit goes to 4 different people.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's a lot of footage to go through. But anyway, like it has that visceral vibe of like, if you know the band and you like them, you'll love the doc. You'll love this.
Yeah.
Concept. If you don't know them, I don't know that it's a good entry point into them, because it's so just skips all the other things we were talking about of like getting to know the band or why they wrote this song or that way forward. It's more just like, if you're a fan, here you go. You're going to love it.
In this, so, because I do remember hearing about this, but you said it's not streaming. So is it still like, if you go on Amazon, like you can just type it and buy the DVD? Or
yeah, I just bought the DVD like a week or so ago.
Nice.
I think on Amazon you're going to want to do awesome. I shot that, because like the swear words out of Amazon.
Sure.
About that, I guess. But yeah, Beastie Boys doc. I mean, it's findable. And not, it was like $12, $13. It wasn't too crazy. And then actually at the end, it's very, because this is 2006. So at the end, what was that at the end? So at the end for sure is Ben Stiller and his wife, whose name I'm totally spacing on, so sorry about that. Somebody just caught them in the hallway. They're like, "Oh, hey, Ben Stiller, how's the concert?" He's like, "It's great. The Beastie Boys fucking rock." And you're like, "That's weird." That's Ben Stiller. But if you look real closely too, Childish Gambino, Glover, is there either in the crowd or he says something real quick. You're like, "Is that?" I mean, he looks like a kid because he's a fucking kid. It's 2004.
Sure.
But I was like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "Wait, no, it's Madison Square Garden and the Beastie Boys in 2004." I'm sure there were a lot of musicians. And
yes.
that were there that I just wasn't quite picking out or something.
Oh.
But It's also not terribly long. I want to say it's maybe like 90 minutes. It's in and out. It's just the hits, and and you're good.
No, I love it.
Yeah, it couldn't be more of one of those to just put you right there at the show.
Yeah.
And I think it would probably get a little tired if it was just like front row cameras only, or like only people on the floor get cameras. Like the way they did it, it goes back to all these other different shots to kind of give you a flavor of like, hey, people are still partying like up in the nosebleed sections. Is that what you can afford? Which is what I could afford at that time period. They're still having a blast and they're having a good time there.
I do have to ask though, do some of them do, because I've had to review a lot of like high school, college projects. Do they do this thing where they zoom in and then zoom out, like the shot?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, but I think they edit it very well where it's not like, I mean, you could get motion sickness from this movie, don't get me wrong. But you're not going to get it from the zoom in, zoom out part, because I think they edited it pretty skillfully. There's a little bit of that here and there. Oh, actually, speaking of technical things from the era with High 8, you could push a button and do like, I always called it like kind of predator mode in quotes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So some of those effects pop up and you're like, oh my God, I remember that effect. It was only for a minute on those video cameras, but it's there. Not overdone. It's just a touch here and there to be like, oh shit, that's right. That's what those cameras were like in the early 2000s. But yeah, no, it's a solid recommend. And just if you're, but only if you're a fan, I think. If you were like, oh, I've always meant to listen to the Beastie Boys, just give them a listen. If you get into the music, then give us a watch.
Yeah.
But if you're into them, it's definitely one that'll hold your attention.
I'm gonna add that.
A little motion sickness. It is all handheld, but yeah, no, it's a solid one. But all right, Mike, you are up next, or your pick is up next. What are we challenged to watch for the next episode?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with just because I enjoy collecting these, and sometimes they are blind purchases just because of simply they might have a cool art cover or just by reputation. So I'm gonna say that the challenge for next time will be films from the Criterion Collection.
Physical media from the Criterion Collection, you're saying? Mm-hmm. Okay, excellent. Not the streaming channel, which is great.
Yes. Oh, it's so good.
Physical media from the Criterion Collection. Excellent. Well, man, that honorable mention list might be a long one. I'm going to keep it limited. That's a revisitable topic. But,
90-minute episode coming your way.
Coming soon, but sweet. All right. Well, looking forward to seeing what you come up with for that one. We will talk soon, Mike.
Have a good one.